in the heart of a nation deeply scarred by segregation, emerged a voice of hope, resilience, and dreams. A voice that challenged the status quo, that spoke the unspeakable, that dreamed the unimaginable. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a man whose resilience was as profound as the words he spoke, stood fearlessly against the towering wave of racial injustice that sought to drown the cries for equality. In a time when hope was a distant glimmer, his relentless spirit rekindled the flame of change, igniting the civil rights movement that would forever alter the course of American history. Journey with us as we unravel the life of a man who, with unwavering resilience, became the cornerstone of a movement that would echo through the annals of time.
Free at last! Free at last! Thank God Almighty, we are free at last!
In the heart of the South, where the echoes of inequality rang loud, a pillar of hope was born on January 15, 1929. Martin Luther King Jr. opened his eyes to a world of segregation, yet was nurtured in a family of strong faith and community leadership. His father, a reverend, and his mother, a talented musician, instilled in him the values of compassion and service from a tender age. Young Martin was a curious mind with a voracious appetite for knowledge. He attended Booker T. Washington High School, a place where his intellectual spark was fanned into a flame. Even as a teenager, his exceptional academic prowess shone bright, skipping 2 grades, entering the revered halls of Morehouse College at just 15 years old. At Morehouse, under the mentorship of college president Benjamin Mays, an advocate for racial equality, Martin's eyes were opened to the stark realities of racial segregation. It was here that he felt the first stirrings of destiny nudging him towards a path of social justice. He graduated with a degree in sociology, a young man with a burgeoning vision for a world where color was not a measure of one's worth. With a heart full of dreams and a mind sharp as a tack, Martin ventured to Crozer Theological Seminary, then on to Boston University for his doctoral studies. It was a journey of profound intellectual exploration, digging deep into the teachings of nonviolence by Mahatma Gandhi and forming the philosophical underpinnings of a movement that would shake the very core of America's racial divide. Amidst the tomes of ancient wisdom and modern thought, love blossomed in the heart of Martin Luther King Jr. As he met Coretta Scott, a young, intelligent, and compassionate woman. Their union was not just a testament of love, but a joining of forces in the battle that lay ahead. Together, they were ready to face the tempest of the civil rights movement, armed with education, love, and an unyielding resolve to change the world. The winds of change began to stir on a crisp December day in 1955 in the city of Montgomery, Alabama. Rosa Parks, an African-American seamstress, courageously defied the harsh laws of segregation, refusing to surrender her seat to a white passenger on a city bus. This act of defiance was the spark needed to ignite the fire of resistance against the unjust Jim Crow laws that had shackled the black community for far too long. Among the whispers of protest emerged a young, charismatic pastor, Martin Luther King Jr. With a heart aflame with the desire for justice and equality, he assumed the helm of the Montgomery Improvement Association, leading the charge against the chains of segregation. His call was simple, yet profound: to boycott the Montgomery buses until fair treatment was granted to all, irrespective of color.
We decided that we were not going to take segregated buses any longer. And you know, when we planned the bus boycott, we said if we could just get about 50 or 60% of the Negroes of Montgomery not to ride buses, this would be an effective boycott.
The morning of December 5, 1955, saw the streets of Montgomery wear a different look. The buses rolled empty, the seats unoccupied by those who had for years endured the humiliation of racial segregation. Day after day, month after month, the black community of Montgomery chose to walk in dignity rather than ride in humiliation. The boycott was not just an act of defiance, but a declaration of humanity. The road was not easy. There were threats, There were fears, but there was an undying spirit of resilience that held the community together. Martin Luther King Jr. stood as a pillar of hope amidst the storm. His words of love, peace, and equality were the beacon guiding them through the darkest hours. After 381 days of walking the rugged path of resistance, victory dawned. The Supreme Court declared the segregation on buses unconstitutional. The Montgomery bus boycott was not just a triumph for the Black community in Montgomery, it was a resounding proclamation of the power of nonviolent protest, a cornerstone for the civil rights movement, and a defining moment in the life of Martin Luther King Jr., whose leadership had steered the course of history towards the shores of justice. The fire ignited by the Montgomery bus boycott was but the dawn of a greater movement that yearned to break forth. In the year 1957, inspired by the victories won and the unity formed, Martin Luther King Jr., along with other civil rights leaders, established the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, the SCLC. Their vision was crystal clear: to coordinate local protests against racial inequality, uniting the vigor of countless souls seeking justice. The SCLC was not just an organization, it was a clarion call to the soul of a nation to rise above prejudice. Rooted in Christian values and the principles of nonviolent resistance, it was a vessel of hope in turbulent times. Dr. King, as its first president, infused the SCLC with a spirit of divine purpose, embodying the ideals of love, peace, and justice that would become the bedrock of the civil rights movement. Through the SCLC, Dr. King and his comrades orchestrated a symphony of protests that echoed through the streets of the South. They mobilized the masses, trained leaders, and shone a light on the grotesque face of racial segregation. The formation of the SCLC was a milestone not just in the life of Martin Luther King Jr., but in the annals of America's quest for equality. It laid the groundwork for monumental events that would follow, amplifying the call for civil rights and marking the pages of history with indelible tales of courage, unity, and the unyielding pursuit of justice. Through the SCLC, Dr. King's legacy of peaceful protest was etched into the soul of a movement, inspiring generations to stand firm against the tide of injustice, with faith as their shield and love as their sword. As the winds of change swept across the nation, a monumental event was brewing on the horizon. The year was 1963, a time ripe for a show of unity and demand for justice on a scale never seen before. The March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom was conceived, a peaceful assembly that would bring together souls from every corner of America, united by a shared dream of equality. On a balmy day of August 28th, the heart of American democracy, Washington, D.C., witnessed an ocean of over 250,000 faces, black and white, standing shoulder to shoulder as they marched in solidarity to the Lincoln Memorial. It was not just a march, it was a testament to the indomitable spirit of justice that pulsed through the veins of a people weary, yet hopeful. Amidst the backdrop of the Lincoln Memorial, a voice rose, its timbre resonating through the throng and beyond. Martin Luther King Jr. stepped forth and delivered a sermon to the nation, the I Have a Dream speech.
I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day, even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today that one day down in Alabama with its vicious
vicious racist, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification. One day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today.
His words, laced with the hopes of millions, painted a picture of a world where love triumphed over hatred, where his children would be judged by the content of their character and not the color of their skin. It was a vision of America that breathed the essence of its founding ideals. The echo of Dr. King's voice reverberated through the corridors of power, shaking the foundations of prejudice. The March on Washington was a pivotal moment that galvanized public opinion and provided a catalyst for the Civil Rights Act of 1964. It was a day when the sun shone a little brighter, revealing the path that lay ahead. A path of struggle, yet filled with hope. As dawn broke on 1964, the world watched a momentous occasion unfold. Martin Luther King Jr., already a towering figure in America, was about to capture the heart of the world. At a groundbreaking age of 35, he stood as the youngest laureate to be honored with the Nobel Peace Prize. In the crisp air of Oslo, as King held the medal, it wasn't just a personal achievement, but a victory for every silenced voice of the civil rights movement. "This is not mine alone," he echoed. "It belongs to the tireless marchers, the freedom fighters, and every oppressed soul." But beyond this international acclaim back home, the winds of change were stirring stronger. Merely months later, the power of King's message and the sacrifices of thousands culminated in the monumental Civil Rights Act of 1964. It's one of the most comprehensive pieces of civil rights legislation, aiming to end segregation in public places and ban employment discrimination.
We believe that all men are entitled to the blessings of liberty, yet millions are being deprived of those blessings, not because of their own failures, but because of the color of their skin.
While the world celebrated him and a nation's law reflected his dream, the essence of King's journey was far greater. The Nobel was a testament to his peaceful rebellion, and the Civil Rights Act, a tangible change he had dreamt of. Two symbols, forever entwined in history, showcasing the might of peaceful resistance and unyielding hope. From the global halls of Oslo to the legislative chambers of the U.S., King's legacy was clear.
Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
The year was 1965. Selma, Alabama, a quiet town, was about to ignite a movement that would echo through the ages. The goal? Secure voting rights for all African Americans. But what lay ahead were 54 miles of challenge, hope, and transformation. On March 7th, as 600 peaceful protesters stepped onto Selma's Edmund Pettus Bridge, they were met not with understanding, but brutal force. This day, forever scarred as Bloody Sunday, saw innocent marchers beaten, gassed, and trampled. The nation recoiled in horror. The brutal images broadcasted into living rooms across America awakened millions. This raw brutality, televised for the world to witness, galvanized national support and led to more marchers joining King in Selma. With protective federal forces now present and bolstered by thousands, Dr. King led a triumphant 5-day march from Selma to Montgomery. On the steps of Alabama's Capitol, he proclaimed,
Because the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. How long? Not long.
A journey of 54 miles, but its impact infinite. Just months later, their footsteps found resonance in the halls of power. The Voting Rights Act of 1965 was signed into law, a testament to the indomitable spirit of every marcher who dared to walk from Selma to Montgomery.
It is wrong, deadly wrong, to deny any of your fellow Americans the right to vote in this country.
But as the civil rights movement's momentum surged, shadows grew longer, and unseen eyes watched. While public opposition was evident, behind closed doors, the machinery of surveillance churned silently. The Federal Bureau of Investigation, under the leadership of J. Edgar Hoover, viewed King as a potential threat. Hoover had a personal vendetta, labeling King the most dangerous Negro in America. In their quest, the FBI resorted to wiretapping, eavesdropping on conversations, and covert operations. More sinister still were anonymous letters sent to King, filled with veiled threats, attempting to break his spirit. Despite the pressure, despite the threats, Dr. King pressed on. His commitment to nonviolence, justice, and equality never wavered. In his own words, "I say to you today, my friends, that in spite of the difficulties and frustrations of the moment, I still have a dream. And no amount of surveillance could dim that dream."
But it really doesn't matter with me now, because I've been to the mountaintop. I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over, and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
April 4th, 1968, Memphis, Tennessee. The world would remember this date with a heavy heart, for it was the day an assassin's bullet silenced the voice of a generation. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the man who dared to dream, met a tragic end.
Some very sad news for all of you, and I think sad news for all of our fellow citizens and people who love peace all over the world. And that is that Martin Luther King was shot and was killed tonight in Memphis.
News of King's assassination spread like wildfire, sending shockwaves across the globe. The streets were filled with tears and anguish. Just days after his demise, riots erupted in over 100 cities nationwide, mirroring the depth of grief and anger. But even in death, Dr. King's message remained undying. His legacy was not of one man, but of an entire movement. His dream had taken root in the hearts of millions. His famous words, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that," became a guiding light. As decades passed, his impact only grew profounder. Streets, schools, and landmarks were named in his honor. But beyond physical memorials, his philosophy inspired global movements for justice, equality, and civil rights. The torch he lit inspired luminaries like Nelson Mandela and countless others. Recognizing his unparalleled contribution, the U.S. instated Martin Luther King Jr. Day, celebrated on the third Monday of January. It isn't just a holiday. It's a day of service, reflection, and a commitment to ensuring his dream continues to thrive in the hearts of future generations. Although gone, Dr. King's voice continues to echo, reminding us all, our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. His dream, his legacy, lives on. As we draw this epic journey to a close, let us reflect on a profound truth. In the heart of every storm, there burns a flame that refuses to be extinguished. For Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., that flame was resilience. Amidst adversity, hatred, and even threats to his life, he persisted, teaching us that true strength isn't about never falling. but about rising every single time. Life often presents us with mountains, seemingly insurmountable. But as Dr. King showed us, even the mightiest peaks yield to the resilient spirit. Every challenge he faced, every roadblock in his path, was met with unwavering determination and a deep-seated belief in the righteousness of his cause. Today, as we reflect on Dr. King's legacy, it isn't just about the milestones he achieved, but the indomitable spirit with which he achieved them. The nights he spent in jail, the days he marched on weary feet, the times he felt alone. And yet, he pushed forward, fueled by an unbreakable resilience. So, what will you do when faced with life's mountains? Will you see them as barriers or as opportunities to climb higher? Let Dr. King's resilience inspire you. When the world says, "Give up," let your heart whisper, "Try one more time." Remember, it's not the strength of the storm, but the resilience of the spirit that truly matters. The torch is now in our hands. Let's carry it forward with the same fiery resilience. Thank you for tuning in. If this video resonated with you or sparked some thoughts, we'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below to join the conversation. Sharing is caring, so if you think someone else could benefit from this content, please share the video. And don't forget, if you want to stay updated with our latest content and be part of our growing community, hit that subscribe button. Together, we can spread knowledge and inspire change. Let's connect, share, and grow. Before we part ways, imagine the embodiment of resilience. A young man, one leg amputated, setting out to run across an entire country. Our next story is about just such an indomitable spirit, Terry Fox. A tale where every step taken was a testament to human resilience, defying pain, weather, and countless challenges. This isn't just about a marathon. It's about the marathon of the human spirit, a shining light of hope for countless others. How far can determination take us? Join us next time as we trace the footsteps of a legend, and together rediscover the power of resilience. Thank you for being with us today. Stay curious, stay inspired. Until next time.